Hi y'all. Welcome and welcome back to this video on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail. When we think of philosophy, we often picture ancient Greece or Enlightenment Europe, Plato, Hobbes, Locke. But in 1963, in the cramped confines of a Birmingham jail cell, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. brought social contract theory into the modern world. His letter from a Birmingham jail is not only one of the greatest moral documents in American history, it is also a philosophical defense of justice, law, and civil disobedience. In April 1963, King was arrested in Birmingham, Alabama for participating in nonviolent demonstrations against segregation. From his cell, he wrote a long letter responding to 8 white clergymen who had called his actions unwise and untimely. Writing on scraps of paper, margins of newspapers, and bits of stationery, King composed a work that blended theology, moral philosophy, and political thought. At its core, the letter asks a timeless question. When the law itself is unjust, what is our moral duty? King begins by distinguishing between just and unjust laws. A just law, he writes, is one that aligns with moral law and uplifts human dignity. An unjust law is one that degrades humanity and violates the moral order. He borrows from St. Augustine's principle that an unjust law is no law at all, and Aquinas' view that true law must reflect natural and eternal law. For King, the difference is not merely legal, but moral. Obeying unjust laws is a betrayal of conscience. Civil disobedience, therefore, is not an act of rebellion, but an expression of respect for the deeper meaning of law, the pursuit of justice itself. Injustice anywhere, King reminds us, is a threat to justice everywhere. King's theory of nonviolent direct action grows out of both Christian ethics and the American democratic tradition. Nonviolence, he explains, is not passive. It is a disciplined, active method for confronting injustice through moral force rather than physical violence. The process, as King outlines it, involves 4 steps: fact-finding, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. This constructive tension is crucial. It disrupts the comfort of complacency, making hidden injustice visible. For King, peace is not merely the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. King's reasoning connects directly to social contract theory. Philosophers like Hobbes and Locke had argued that individuals consent to government authority to ensure order and protect rights. But what happens when the state violates that trust? King argues that citizens have a moral responsibility to hold the state accountable. The social contract, in his view, is not just political, it's ethical. Government authority is legitimate only when it serves justice. When it enforces injustice, citizens not only may but must resist. This moral stance transforms the social contract into a living covenant, one based not only on law, but conscience and equality. One of the most powerful sections of the letter is King's criticism of what he calls the white moderate, those who claim to support justice but prefer order to equality. He writes that the greatest obstacle to freedom is not the open racist, but the moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice. King warns that indifference, silence, and the fear of disruption sustain injustice just as surely as violence does. The true test of justice, he insists, is not whether we avoid conflict, but whether we face it with courage and integrity. King defends civil disobedience as both rational and moral. Breaking an unjust law openly, lovingly, and with a willingness to accept the consequences expresses the highest respect for law's true purpose. Civil disobedience restores justice by appealing to moral law when legal systems fail. Through this lens, King becomes both philosopher and reformer, uniting faith, reason, and social contract principles into a single moral vision. His letter calls us to examine our own role in upholding or challenging unjust systems. King's message is not bound to the 1960s. His reasoning speaks directly to modern debates about justice, equality, and the responsibilities of citizens in a democracy. In an age of political polarization, systemic inequality, and moral fatigue, Letter from a Birmingham Jail reminds us that justice requires more than belief. It requires action. King's words challenge each of us to ask, what laws or systems today fail the test of justice? Are we more devoted to comfort or to change? And, as King might ask, are we acting out of fear or moral courage? Dr. King's Letter from a Birmingham Jail stands as a cornerstone of modern moral and political thought. It bridges the ancient and modern worlds, from Plato's reflections on justice to Rawls' theory of fairness. Like Socrates, King was willing to suffer for truth. Like Locke, he grounded political legitimacy in moral law. And like Rawls, he envisioned a society where justice is fairness for all. From his cell in Birmingham, King turned philosophy into action. His words continue to remind us that justice is not a passive ideal, but an ongoing commitment, one that demands reflection, courage, and love. All right, y'all, that's all for now. If you're interested in more videos on philosophy and ethics, take a look at the videos posted on our channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.